Hey everybody, as you know, since you're visiting this video blog, the 35-year-old Oakland Waterfront Hotel will stop operations this Friday. Really, it's already stopped its operations because some of the phone numbers that I use to make calls say non-operational. The fact of the matter is that, according to the Port of Oakland, all of this happened abruptly. I received an email from Port of Oakland Director of Communications, Robert Bernardo, who wrote, and I repeat this in Mr. Bernardo's text back to me. Hello, Zenny. Thank you for reaching out. I also received your voicemail. Basically, on January 31st, the Waterfront Hotel owner, Jack London Square Associates LLC, notified the Port of Oakland that it was abandoning its long-term ground lease with the port that same day, which immediately terminated the lease. Jack London Square Associates notice did not provide a reason for its departure. So I poked around to see what was going on, made calls, and was able to find some information online that was telling. I can tell you precisely what happened. First of all, the occupancy rate for the Waterfront Hotel had dived to a historically low and dramatically death knell level 14%. That's right, 14% occupancy. That means that basically of 10 hotel rooms you have, just over one was occupied. Just over one was occupied, and that's it. There was no indication that they received help from the city of Oakland. However, in the year 2021, Jack London Square Associates did receive a $1.8 million PPP loan. Now, that PPP loan was said to have saved 124 jobs. So from that, we can say, sadly, that 124 jobs will cease to exist come this Friday because of the closure of the Jack London Hotel in Oakland. Additionally, here's the other problem, and it's a gigantic one. There are a number of areas in Jack London Square that are inactive. And Jack London Square, back in 2004, was the focus of its own redevelopment project, and yes, therefore it was its own redevelopment project area. What that means is that property tax money is normally paid to the city of Oakland, the county of Alameda, the school district, BART, AC Transit, and the EB Mud Flood Control District all go to the redevelopment agency to provide, among other things, assistance to businesses that would need it. But by 2011, California Governor Jerry Brown, who was previously mayor of Oakland, killed redevelopment as we knew it. Then it wasn't until 2014 that the son of redevelopment, made by SB 628 Beal, allowed tax increment financing to be used for the establishment of such approaches as loans to businesses and also assistance to Head Start programs, libraries, a gigantic number of uses that really contribute to city building. However, the city of Oakland has not once used tax increment financing for anything. It threatened to use it in the case of Howard Terminal and Oakland Athletics, but it was so slow in making it happen that by the time a draft report regarding the fiscal shape the industrial financing plan was going to take was posted on, of all things, the database of the website called The Athletic, the Oakland A's were already gone. They were already approved to relocate to Nevada by the Nevada legislature. That was 2023. And yet, here is this incomplete report dropped on a website not owned by the city of Oakland that includes, among other things, a $2.3 billion subsidy that would have gone to Howard Terminal, which, by extension, could have benefited Oakland businesses like, you guessed it, the Waterfront Hotel. What's going on here, folks, is an outrage. The redevelopment policy and law that was terminated by California Governor Jerry Brown was done to prevent blight. The definition of blight is what you see up and down Oakland. Closed business after closed business after closed business after break-in after break-in after break-in after closed business after closed businesses, creating the kind of environment that made, of all places, the Waterfront Hotel a less than desirable place to stay. Look at this beautiful facility behind me. Look at that. On this great dusk day in Oakland, with the water behind it, the sun setting behind San Francisco across the bay, who wouldn't want to stay there? And it's a good reason why in 2016 it enjoyed a 70% occupancy rate. R.D. Moss says, how can everything go to heck in the Bay Area? So sad. Union Square is my favorite. Now it's trash. R.D. Moss is because we didn't respond to the pandemic, which is for another vlog where I can tie all this together for people. We have literally forgotten how to revitalize our cities, to reduce and remove blight. Now, arguably, we have a city in Oakland of slum lords. That's right. Slumlord facilities so expensive to maintain that they look dilapidated, or they have no businesses in them whatsoever, or are the target of vandals and robbers, or some combination of all of the above. And yet, Oakland has done nothing about it. A complete 180-degree reversal from the kind of city we had when redevelopment was active, and we had a redevelopment agency that worked, and we had such organizations as the Arnold Bello-run Oakland Business Development Corporation. I can go on and on and on and on. Yet, when we had the pandemic, what did my longtime friend Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf do? Did she have a program to subsidize businesses while they were closed because of the pandemic, because of COVID-19? No. Instead, she had a task force that included on it some business owners that were actually losing their businesses as they were sitting on the task force. I said this in 2020, okay? And R.D. Moss says, Oakland fans are saying, let's keep the A's name and colors. Look, I don't want, that's not the question here, R.D. Stick to the subject. I'm talking about this thing. I'm talking about the Jack London waterfront, okay? This is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the closure of the Waterfront Hotel. I'm not talking about the athletics. I'm talking about specifically how Oakland has failed to help businesses that were once shining examples of its culture. Do you realize that the Jack London Square that was before the Waterfront Hotel was in and of itself dilapidated, blighted, that it didn't start to become revitalized until Yoshi's was moved down there, and then this facility behind me was built as part of a $100 million renovation. That was the idea. Now, we are allowing Jack London Square to return to the same state that it was in, roughly, before 1990. That's what's going on here. Because we don't have a government investment. We have a government saying it doesn't have the money, but guess what? It doesn't use redevelopment agencies. Okay? Alright? R.D. Moss says, my point was your point, the decay of society under bad leadership. It's also bad electorate, folks. The electorate doesn't... Look, leadership happens when people vote them in the office. Okay? And I'm not talking about left-right stuff. This is how government works. I'm talking about people allowing a government to form where only nonprofits know how to implement tax increment financing, a talent which used to be within the doors of the city itself. Yet, and you can see this with Howard Terminal and the A's, they're willing to secede that knowledge to the city, which didn't know what it was doing. Then they had their own consultants, which really didn't know what they were doing, and so it became the blind leading the blind. And after a while, the athletics became exceptionally frustrated with the over-politicization on top of everything else and left. And I said, and I will repeat this because it's what they should have done in November of 2021, on the 25th, I wrote that the athletics should leave because they're wasting their time in Oakland and they're not going to get anything done. And I've seen this show before, going all the way back to when I worked to bring the Super Bowl to Oakland and we lost to Jacksonville, and that was the year 2000. I am tired of this, and everybody watching this should be, okay. And then this gentleman says, I stayed there in December, had a great time. Will they sell the Waterfront Hotel? I'm not sure what they will do, because it used to be that when the city had an alarm bell like this go off, and someone knew this was going to happen, okay, they would jump in early on. We had a business retention program. We had enough money to do it because of the use of tax increment financing, because Jack London Square was in a redevelopment project area, and we could take part of the funds from that and assist the hotel in staying open, at least until we could get another brand to buy it. But also have a whole plan of revitalization for Jack London Square that assured investors of the long-term sustainability of these businesses. What has Oakland done now? Nothing. You call around and no one knows what's going on. That's not the way a city is supposed to be run. This isn't a matter of who the mayor should be. It's a matter of the city itself. I don't care who you put in the chair there. That problem is not going to diminish immediately because it hasn't done so now. Where's the emergency task force? It doesn't exist. Where's the people calling for it? That's not happening. Okay? This is an emergency. Oakland is quite literally dying before our eyes. It's happening again and again and again, and we just use it as more topics to talk about over where people talk about, when they're talking or when they get together. This is ridiculous. The problem isn't the leadership. The problem is us, because we don't demand change. The problem is us. And the lazy thing is to expect somebody else to do it. Where's the Oakland Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce? I hate to say it, the old days, all right, when the chamber was ran differently, it had its own economic development representative. And that economic development representative, I forgot John's last name, unfortunately, but John had his ears to the ground. This goes all the way back to 1995, 96, 97, when I formed the Oakland Downtown Coalition to bring together different organizations that weren't talking to each other to get the AC Transit bus transit center off the ground. It was stuck in a political mud. But the Chamber of Commerce, the Oakland Chamber, had its own economic development task force. It even had its own task force regarding the baseball issue, building a stadium for the A's as far back as recently, I should say, not as far back, but 2010. Now, you know what the Chamber of Commerce is doing right now? And that's on Barbara Leslie, who's on the Port Commission. She's a commissioner. Come on, Barbara, wake up. This is ridiculous. All right, I'm coming back later with more. I'll see you all later. Outrage.